What's up, listeners? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the In the Endzone podcast. Just a quick heads up before we jump right into it. You can find this recording as well as some of our previous recordings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find us by searching at Settle Down Media on both of those sites. Also, be sure to follow us on our social media pages. We regularly post on Instagram. You can find us by searching at In the Endzone podcast on Instagram. Be sure to follow us on our Patreon. For less than a cup of coffee in a month, $3, you get exclusive content. You get access to behind the scenes stuff, footage before it's even out on YouTube. So yeah, check that out. Help support us. It helps us get better gear, better quality content. So it goes directly to improving the quality. So thanks for watching this and enjoy the rest of the episode. Peace.
Yo.
Well.
What's poppin'? Okay.
We're back, baby. We're back.
Yeah, we're back. We're back without Anthony because he is at a conference. So, Anthony, we'll be missing you, but oh man, I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be a tough fucking week. It's gonna be a tough week.
It's all about the football with you guys.
Dude, football's been so hard to watch.
So athletic. Football, well, it depends.
So hard to watch for me, man. My fantasy team suck. The Niners suck. Oklahoma sucks. The only thing that I have going right now for me is Boise State, and I know that they're gonna ruin that.
Hey. Look.
I'm knocking on wood.
Tomorrow,
yes, Spurs are starting. Yes, they
technically yesterday, if you're watching the video. So we have that to look forward to.
Dude, I'm really fucking praying that they're good, but I think their ceiling is probably an 8 seed, maybe a 7 seed.
Hey, that's okay. It's better than nothing. Could be Grizzly
what
fans.
The fucking Niners are doing. So the Niners aren't going to make the playoffs. So
how was your week, by the way?
It was good. Honestly, I can't complain. Had a pretty good work week. Worked Saturday. Didn't do much besides watch college football. Still sucked to work, but afterwards I went and watched some ball with Diego and Lachlan, so that was a lot of fun. And then Sunday just chilled and watched some football. Got depressed because the 49ers lost and my fantasy teams were just ass. I don't think I broke 100 again this week for 4 of my teams. It's just not good right now. I'm telling you, football is tough. Like I've been dreading this episode.
You're having some really insane luck right now in terms of the teams you're playing. It's going to catch up to you.
No, I know. I'm 5-2 and I'm ass.
Hey, you take the wins when you can get them, right? It's like you control who you're playing. So let's just hope you play Stewie every week.
My points for and points against are just like this.
Yeah.
Almost 50-50, which is not a recipe for success, but we're 5-2. We'll talk about that later. But
we'll talk about that later. Week was okay. Honestly, I mean, watching the Seahawks play football, like an actual football team again, was really nice. It was really fresh.
That was a good win.
Yeah, it was a big one. Again, we'll talk about that. Overall, the weekend was good. Didn't do much out of the ordinary. Just watched a lot of sports, man. Had NASCAR, had Formula One, had football.
Yeah, how was that? I saw NASCAR. Good. Did you watch it or no?
Yeah. I mean, I watched some. I basically watched like the last half of the race, and then I watched the early part highlights. And look, we got a lot going on in terms of football. Kind of a weird week. It's just us two today, so bear with us. It's going to get rowdy. It's going to get a little bit competitive. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it.
Green 18, red 48. Settle down. Wide 80. Set hut.
We suck. We suck. Get rid of Belichick. Get rid of Mac Jones. Get rid of our entire receiving core.
You guys are 2-8.
That's what I thought. 2-8. It doesn't matter. We still suck.
So Seahawks played the Ravens. Final score was 28-25. Geno Smith, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Anyway, not really much to write home about that game. Just
right.
This is
I don't think Jared Goff is a top 5 quarterback in the NFC.
Wait, are you putting Justin Herbert over Jared Goff?
Yes.
It was like an interview for like a new podcast company. Called Brazzers. I mean, you could see I'm literally in the headquarters right now, dude. All right. Well, starting off with Thursday night football, we had a pretty surprising game. The Broncos won 33-10. Don't know how they did it, but they did it. Don't check the box score. It doesn't make sense, but that score happened. Moving into our Sunday game, you have the Patriots against the Jaguars in Wembley Stadium, bruv. Jags win that game 32-16. Drake May, if you're looking at box score, had a good game, had a couple of interceptions, but overall, we're seeing progression that first overall pick requires. Going over to the Lions, man. Lions played Jags in a heated NFC matchup. 31 was the final score to 29. The Lions taking that on a last-second field goal to win it. What an absolute game. What an insane game for what looks like could possibly be two NFC representatives for the conference. Now, I don't know how that breaks down, but you're looking at two contenders fighting off there. Moving towards the AFC, we had the Tennessee Titans at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills came in, they handled business. It wasn't pretty at the start, but they win that game 34-10. Josh Allen, don't look now. He's got no interceptions through 6 weeks of football. Pretty insane. Going over, staying in the NFC. We're staying in the same division, actually, too, because we have the Dolphins at Colts. Dolphins, I mean, nothing you can do without Tua. That team is a shell of its former self. They don't have a quarterback. They lose 10-16. Joe Flacco, you're starting to worry me, but you're better than Anthony Richardson, so I'll give you that. Moving over to the NFC, walking yo trap, take over your trap. Because Seattle walked into Atlanta, man, with some fire. 3 games, 11 days. You could tell that they were hurt. That mini bye helped them out a lot. They come into that game, win 34-14 against the Falcons. We're going to talk a little bit more about that game. I was pretty pumped about it, but good win for them. Moving down, Texans at Packers. Texans finish that score 22. Packers win that game. 24 points scored. Final score on that is 22-24. Moving down, man, you have two kind of crappy teams playing some crappy football. We're talking about the AFC matchup of the Bengals against the Browns in Cleveland. Bengals win that game only by 7. We have some pretty insane news about that game you're going to want to hear. Moving over to the NFC matchup, Eagles at Giants, man. A game that Zach thought was going to be a lot closer than it was. The Eagles came in, they took care of business. They win 28-3. Got so bad that they had to bring Drew Lock in, so maybe he's a full-time starter soon. Who knows? Moving over back to the AFC-NFC matchup, you had the Raiders at the Rams. That was a pretty shitty game as well, closer than it should have been. Raiders, 15 points. Rams, 20 points. That's just an ugly score. That's just an ugly score. That is a WNBA quarter of basketball. Panthers at Commanders. Panthers, I mean, what's there to say? Andy Dalton's regressing. They put up 7 points. The Commanders dominated. 40 points scored in total. And that's without Jaden Daniels, who seemed to have taken an injury that, I don't know. We'll see the severity on that. I haven't seen more, but it looks like it's pretty bad. Marcus Mariota came in, did what he needed to do. Looks like a good backup. Happy for the guy. Our final game of Sunday regular season, we had Chiefs at 49ers. That was a game that we're really going to talk about, but Chiefs took care of business 28-18 in that Super Bowl matchup. Moving over to Sunday Night Football, we had the Jets at Steelers. That was a surprisingly good game. Russell Wilson in his first start as a Pittsburgh Steeler since he left the Broncos. Jets 15 points. The Steelers put up 37 points. Don't look now. They're 5-2. Just saying. Monday Night Football, we had a double stack. We had one really good game and one not so good game, just like the week before. Ravens at Buccaneers. Buccaneers go out to a 10-0 lead. The Ravens pretty much rally to score almost 30 points in a row. They win that game 41-31. Don't look now, man. Lamar Jackson, MVP frontrunner. Again, he looks every bit as advertised until he gets to the playoffs. Good thing an MVP is a regular season award. Last game of the week, Chargers at Cardinals, man. That's our stinker of the week, baby. Chargers, 15 points, no touchdowns scored on the game. Cardinals, 17 points. They win on a last-second field goal. What more can you say, man? That is football, and that is almost a perfect time frame because that song had just ended.
That was solid.
Look, let's go ahead and talk about some of these games. We're going to go ahead and start out.
Hold on.
What?
Give me 2 minutes before we go into this. I want to say a couple things.
Okay.
Number one, Drake May in that first game had a 70.3 completion percentage, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions with a 109.7 rating. Hey,
Pretty
man,
good.
if he was to start the season at the same time as these other rookies, he would probably be the front runner based off these two games.
Yeah.
Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that's
moving into another game I want to talk about, and I don't think this is on the list, but
you're
was
good.
the Bills game that we talked about. Like you said, dude, Josh Allen, his completion percentage is a little low, 63%, but almost 1,500 yards throwing, 12 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a rating of 108.4, which is the highest he's had since his 2020 year, which I believe he was second in MVP voting that year. So that was a crazy game as well. And, Josh Allen is just balling. And then the other one that I wanted to talk about was there's something else that you had said.
Texans at Packers, Bengals, Browns.
No, I don't think there was anything else. Maybe it was the Commanders with the thumb injury to Jane Daniels, but I think we kind of mentioned it. So we can get into the actual games. I just wanted to mention that because I had heard it and was like, I don't want to interrupt you, but
you were all good. You were all good.
Playing pretty well.
Yeah. Well, look, we're going to talk about our first game, probably the best game of the whole week. I mean, if you're just a football fan in general, and I'm talking about the NFC North matchup between two teams that one of the teams we expected to be here, and the other team, I mean, holy shit, they're just balling on all levels. And man, this game went down to the wire. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Lions at Vikings in Minnesota. Man, oh man, what a game.
Dude.
I don't know what else there is to say. That game went back and forth the entire way.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last week we did our predictions, and I didn't say this on air, but I thought the Lions were going to win by 10 plus.
You actually picked the Vikings to win too.
No, I didn't. I picked the Lions.
Oh no, sorry, vice versa. I
picked the Lions to win, and I really thought they were going to win by 10. And the reason was because I thought the Vikings, not to say that they're flukes, but have been a little bit better than what we thought they would be, and a little bit better than they actually are. Right?
Yeah.
And they proved yesterday or Sunday, whatever day you want to say, I'll say Sunday. They proved Sunday that, man, oh man, they're legit. They're a top 5 fucking team in the NFL, and the Lions might be the best team in the NFL completely. As a complete package, the Lions might be the best team. Record might not say it, but they are playing like a great, great team in that game. What a game, dude. And look, I think this is an appropriate time to address the intro that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, we need to.
Last year,
I have a stat.
Maybe this offseason.
I have a Jared Goff.
I can't remember exactly when that came from, but last year or this last offseason, I said that Jared Goff is worse than Justin Herbert. And now, do I want to completely take that back? No. But do I want to say this? Jared Goff is playing better than Justin Herbert this year, and there's a case in the last 2 to 3 years that he is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert. Do I think Justin Herbert's more talented? Yes. Do I think the situation is worse for Justin Herbert? Yes. But if I was to start a team based off of stats and how they're playing this year, I would take Jared Goff. In my intro, I did not say that. Jared Goff is playing like the best quarterback in the NFC.
I'm gonna tell you right now. And I was gonna
save. Stats, please.
I was gonna give you a crazy stat later, but let's just give the fans what they want. This is a Jared Goff stat, so. Because you guys know me, I'm a meat muncher for Jared Goff, man. That Cal Berkeley looks good on him. He's been balling. Honestly, I think if you're not Lamar, if Lamar Jackson walked out of the building and injured himself and he's gone for a couple weeks, I think Jared Goff is absolutely the front runner. And you might think, okay, that's a little crazy. That offense is high powered. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, but listen to the stat real quick. In their past 4 games, the Detroit Lions have scored more touchdowns, 18 total, than Jared Goff has incompletions, 15 total.
It's insane.
He went, I also saw a stat that since 1970, he's the only quarterback to have, I think it's like an 80% completion percentage and 2 touchdowns at least and no interceptions since 1970 in the first half of the game. Basically in the first half of games, he is pretty much a perfect quarterback.
God, this is
Go ahead.
I just looked up his stats. First 2 games were not very good. They weren't very good team the first 2 games. Versus the Rams, he had 64.3 completion percentage, 217 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 85 rating. Versus the Bucks, 61.8 completion percentage, 307 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 61.7 rating. However, the the last 4 games, and this is why we're talking about him as a MVP frontrunner right now. He has a 78.3% completion percentage, 172 and 88% completion percentage, 199 yards, 292 yards, 315 yards, and 280 yards, 2 touchdowns to 1 interception, 2 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, 3 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, 2 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, a rating of 113.6, 155.8, which is perfect, 153.8, and 140. So in the last 4 games, he has thrown for 11 touchdowns to, or excuse me, for 9 touchdowns to 1 interception and has a rating of an average of about 140. Jared Goff is balling fuck out.
He's doing what he needs to do, man. And let's just say he has a touchdown catch in that span too.
Look, also, I mean, you look at his season stats, and it's 73.6% completion percentage, 1,600 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a rating of 115 or 111.5. He also has a catch and touchdown and maybe a running one. I'm not too sure if I include that in this, but I just take those 2 first games, you throw them out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, fuck, he probably has an 80% completion percentage. He's averaging 250 yards.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's had 9 touchdowns to 1 interception in the last 4 games.
And he's passing that ball with accuracy.
And the main thing that is fucking crazy to me is they're not even necessarily a pass-first team. They've been running all over fools.
They're 50-50,
all
dude.
over fools.
Yeah,
the Lions are scary.
That team is scary.
That team is fucking scary. And look, I will say this. Kirby Joseph last year, didn't make fun of him. I criticized him because I thought that he was an extremely hard hitter, but did not play the pass very well. Holy fuck. That safety duo right now are all pros. Both of them should be all pro number 1, all pro number 1 in strong safety and free safety. Both of them. They are balling the hell out. That team is
wholeheartedly agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
But I will say, you know what? I guess Aiden Hutchinson, I feel like we didn't see like a lack of defense.
We didn't see a lack of defense. No.
Yeah.
Nope. And
like,
that's
I didn't
just because
see like a
next man up mentality.
lack of pass rushing or like a big impact with Aiden Hutchinson out last game. I mean, they took care of fucking business against the Vikings.
Against the high-powered offense.
They look great too, but when it mattered, they got that shit done.
Yep. I totally agree. I'm going to say this before we move on.
That might be the game of the week.
Oh, it was the game of the week for sure. I mean,
yes.
You know,
maybe
depending on who your favorite team is. I wouldn't go that far yet. I wouldn't go that far yet. It's up there for sure. I mean, you know, hindsight 2020.
Game of the year so far.
So far, yeah, I would put it there. Well, look, I'm going to say this before I move on. Just a quick stat. Zach's going to hate this, but I have to get it in while I can. Jared Goff has more receiving touchdowns this year than Brandon Aiyuk does. Okay, let's go ahead and talk Seahawks Falcons. I said it earlier. Walking Yo Trap, take over Yo Trap. We double cupping it. Listen.
Tough game. I'm not going to lie.
Seattle, I'm going to make this fast. You know, it's one game. You got to repeat this and maintain the success. Otherwise, you're going to be every other Seahawks team. But what I will give them credit on, man, they played 3 games in 11 days, just like the Niners did. And you could totally tell that mini bye did them wonders. I mean, they just they came out rejuvenated. It felt like their pass rush was back, like their defense was good. And honestly, you know, they picked off Kirk Cousins twice. Kirk Cousins had 2 interceptions, and we had a strip sack return for a touchdown in this game. Seattle played great. And say what you will about Geno. You know, you listened to me talk about Geno last week, and I said if he has another game like that, time to wrap it up. He played great, man. He leads the league in completion percentage, or not completion percentage, but yards per game, yards in total. And truth be told, man, he's making the right reads. For a guy that has the 31st ranked offensive line in the league, and he's taken the 5th most sacks in the league, for him to be doing the things that he's still able to do, especially as a guy who people still doubt, I think has been really impressive. Seattle got back to what their identity was of establishing the run game. And the game was great. That strip sack touchdown totally put the game away. Because the Falcons were marching back down that field. They scored touchdown. It's now a 3-point game going into the 4th quarter. Totally switched how that momentum was. Now you're up by 17 as opposed to 3. So, huge win. I mean, that's a win you have to have. Yeah.
I want to say a couple things. One, when you guys get K9 involved, you guys are a different fucking team. I don't know what it is if you guys, get off like the game plan of not giving him the rock, or if he's injured, because I know
he's just been
he's
been a little injury prone.
When he goes crazy, when he goes over 100 yards, I guarantee you guys have like a 75% chance of winning. Like
he didn't even have 100 yards from scrimmage.
Right, and that's the thing. When he gets going, he's making people miss tackles. Dude, I'm telling you, you guys have a very high chance of winning. I would say it's like 75% chance if he goes over 100. But with that being said, two other things. One thing that does not worry me is that Geno Smith did not make a mistake in this game, it felt like. In the last couple of games where it's been close or they've lost via the Giants and 49ers, he's thrown for 2 interceptions and did not play his greatest ball, right? But when Geno doesn't make a mistake, the Seahawks are dangerous. And then the last thing I wanted to say was this game reminded me a little bit of the 49ers game where they were missing a bit of tackles against running backs. Bijan Robinson's different. But I will say the big difference between this game and I felt like with the Niners game and the Giants game was they didn't give up that huge play. They missed a couple tackles, which I think is still something to be worrisome about. But they didn't make that huge play happen. And instead, they got the turnover. That was the huge play. And that was the main difference. And I think, Seattle is one of those teams. And look, I don't want to compare them to a team that I think is a little bit mediocre in the AFC North, Steelers, that is. But those teams kind of remind me of each other where it's like, they're going to be a good team. They're a hard fucking out every single week. And realistically, if they don't make turnovers or if they don't make mistakes, they're going to be a hard team to beat every time.
Yeah. It felt like watching it. It was the first time that I think that defense really came together against the team that I felt was significantly better. And for the first time, we saw like consistency from that pass rush. I mean, they were getting in on Kirk Cousins. He had no time. He was having to throw on the run, and Kirk on the run is not always the most accurate.
Not elite.
So,
and that's the thing. Like, we look at a couple of these games. It's like, okay, you played the Broncos, Patriots, Dolphins, teams that are not as good as you. Lions, Giants, 49ers did not look too hot against those teams, obviously. Then you play a Falcons team, which going into this game, I would say they're pretty close skill level, right?
Yeah.
So you finally played a team that was either better than you or, about the same as you and actually played well. I would be not hyped as a Seahawks fan, but I would be optimistic. That is for damn sure.
I was very pumped about the game.
And no injuries.
Gotta reciprocate it. Yep, exactly. No and we're getting healthier. Kenneth Watt, I mean, it's just it was a good important win. It was an important win for the team. Well, look, we're going to talk about another NFC West team. And look, I got to be honest, man. I hate the fuck out of the Niners, but this one's a little tough to talk about because it really is. We're watching the Roman Coliseum crumble before our very eyes, and a lot quicker than we expected. Zach, why don't you go ahead and talk about this game a little bit?
Okay, I'm gonna say this: the second game. Oh God, dude, I don't want to fucking say this shit. It really pisses me off. But the second game against the Chiefs was one of the, at least in like the Brock and Kyle Shanahan and Fred Warner era, where we lost that Super Bowl, was one of those games where you look at and you say, hey, we could have beat that team. We made mistakes. The last Super Bowl, we could have beat that team. We made mistakes. There's a couple of regular season games that I look at and it's like, I don't think we could win those. But this is the fourth time we played them in the Kyle Shanahan, Fred Warner, Brock Purdy era, right? This game from the beginning, I didn't even think that we could have fucking won. Like, realistically, I talked to Diego about it on Saturday, and I was like, I'm just not there. I'm just not optimistic about this team. Second play in the whole game, Brock throws a horrible interception.
He had two really bad ones.
Yes. I'm going to get into this, but there's a couple of videos I've seen. The 49ers against man are the second worst team with the pass. So basically, I'll say this. The stat was, how well can your players break man coverage, right? Or like, how well can your wide receivers get separation in man coverage, right? We are the second worst in the NFL. Last year, paired with yards after the catch, right? We were number one in that.
Yeah.
We were second. This year, we are dead last in Yak and second to last in beating man coverage. So you pair that with a quarterback that likes to take risks and sometimes misses players. Man, oh man, Brock Purdy got fooled yet again. And it reminded me a lot of the Ravens game. That Kyle Hamilton pick in the end zone reminded me a lot of that second play against the Chiefs, right?
It was.
The safety is just roaming. They're playing man. He doesn't have anyone. He throws it right to him. I said right after that, this is gonna be.
And it wasn't even like it was like a missed route.
Read.
I mean, he just literally threw it
read.
directly to him. That was like
and
pitch
so
and catch.
after that, I'm like, all right, let's see what we can do. Our defense played great. Nick Bosa went fucking crazy in that.
Played well enough to win.
I honestly think we played well enough to win, and then that fucking punt return happened, and then they scored the touchdown. And to be honest with you, we got lucky going into half. We were down 13-7, 13-6, I think it was.
It was a lot closer than it should have been.
It was a lot closer, right? So then we come out, and
it was it was 14-6 going into half.
Yeah, 14-6. That's what it was. At this point, we're just not playing well on offense. We can't get anything going. The defense is playing great, and then we see what happens. Brandon Aiyuk gets hurt. Fucking Ronnie Bell comes in, who is the worst wide receiver on the 49ers. I don't know why he keeps playing, and he runs the wrong route. I saw a bunch of people fucking giving Brock Purdy shit for that. The dude ran the fucking wrong route.
Yeah, Brock Purdy had two bad ones,
but it wasn't
two bad ones. That wasn't his fault though. That Ronnie Bell one was not his fault.
And then we fucking get a turnover, and it's like, okay, we can finally fucking do something, right? We start fucking driving. It's at the end of the third. It's still 14-6. We're down one possession. We get into the end zone. And again, this, like I said, there's many stats that are very telling with this 49ers team. Last year, number 1 in YAC. Number 2, I believe, in red zone offense. And number 2 against man coverage, right? This year, like I said, last in YAC, second to last against man coverage, and the worst team in the red zone, right? I start watching this, and I'm like, this is not looking too fucking good. This red zone offense is not looking too fucking good. We get to third down. What is the fucking play call? We run slants in a zone defense that is perfect against slants. Perfect.
Yeah.
And our pass fucking protection wasn't there. Brock tries to force it to a fucking wide receiver 4 out of anything, and we get picked off, and that's basically the game. And I will say there's a couple of things I want to take from it. I saw such a good fucking analyst talk about this earlier, and I don't remember his name, and I'm not going to give just random credit, but it was on TikTok, and he took it from an article. So I don't know the analyst that said it, but he basically said that this was kind of one of those games that is telling game onto where you are as a team, right? Like it basically gives you almost like a rating of how good you think your team is compared to how well you can play, correct? So we watch this team. This team has the ability to blow anyone out when they want to, right? If they come to play, they have the ability to blow them out. But against the Chiefs, like I said, 0-4 in the Kyle Shanahan era, you go into a game like this, and it's really going to be telling as to what your team is like. This team is the best team in the NFL until proven differently. The Chiefs, that is. And you lose by 10 against Patrick Mahomes, who has his worst fucking game of the year. Like, it wasn't like he played good.
Don't look now. He
played fucking horrible.
Don't look now. Patrick Mahomes is tied for first in interceptions with 8 through 6 weeks.
Played horrible, Keaton.
Awful game. Worst game.
Horrible.
I can't believe I started him over Brock Purdy, who put up more points with more interceptions. Put up like 3 points.
This was the other thing. Everyone keeps saying, just get to the bye week. Get to the bye week. Have CMC come back. Have fucking Dre come back, which, if you guys don't know, CMC is our best offensive player by a mile. Dre Greenlaw is arguably our third best defensive player, but he is a great fucking leader, and he's really neat on that defense. But I look at this. Another takeaway that I want to fucking get to is missed tackles. Holy fuck. How many missed tackles are we going to have? Like, it was all over the place. Against Patrick Mahomes, Mustafa, I love you, who's a rookie. He played fucking well, but man, he got fucking leveled by Mahomes in the end zone. I mean, that was fucking embarrassing. And then D. Winters, all you have to do is hit Patrick Mahomes out of bounds, and there's a potential that we win the game. But instead, he runs 40 yards down the fucking sideline because you didn't touch him. Overran a fucking play that you had the sideline and every fucking part of the sideline to work with. It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Shitty game. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was Trent Williams getting ejected. Thought it was very telling as to kind of like how our team has been this whole year. Kind of get our ass kicked, right? You get a punch thrown at you, you throw the punch, right? And you get ejected. And it just feels like this year, we've thrown some punches, but some punches have thrown back, and they have fucking knocked us out, man. Injuries, Super Bowl hangover. It just looks like, and I'm not fully panicked, but I'm like 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like I saw another analyst, and this will be the last thing I'll say. We have 5 games coming up. It is Dallas, Bucks, Seattle, Green Bay, Buffalo. If we don't go at least 4-1 in that, and get some help from Seattle,
and you have the Bears.
We we play very similar schedules for the rest of the year, which is nice for both of us, right? Because we're very like neck and neck. But if we don't go 4-1 in that, I think the idea that we're a Super Bowl contender is out of the fucking realm. But the idea that if we go fucking 2-3 or 3-2, realistically, we're not making the playoffs. Yeah. I just don't. Well, I don't think so.
I'm going to be honest. As a
49ers fan, I'm fucking shocked right now with how we're playing. And I'm genuinely worried.
Unless you win the division, unless you win the NFC West, no one, you or I, were the only two teams that could make the playoffs this year in the NFC West.
Yep.
One of us is not going to the playoffs because it's not the other one's going to clinch the wild card. The NFC North has all teams over 500. All teams over 500. It's just not going to happen. Not going to happen.
So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm really just discouraged, and football's been depressing. I'm gonna be honest.
I get it. Yeah. Well, look, we're going to talk about our last game of the day. Steelers, man. I mean, the New York Jets at the Steelers. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't know if we can check the stats. Maybe I can come up with those later. There's got to be a stat that shows how many players have lost to the same team in back-to-back weeks. After getting traded, because Devontae Adams, I mean, he gets traded to the Jets, has to play the Steelers again, and went 3 for 30, which is fine. You got to get used to a new playbook, a new offensive caller who's new to calling as a head coach. I'm going to be 100% transparent, man. I don't think it's an upgrade for Devontae Adams, and I say that because one, I don't think I have too much faith in Aaron Rodgers at this point. I wonder if the game has passed him. I think his offensive line is worse than he's ever had before, and it's causing him to make decisions. And then Garrett Wilson. I'm just going to say this right now. Garrett Wilson has sucked ass cheeks this year. If you're if you're high up on Garrett Wilson, that's awesome. His drops is very alarming in a manner of like a Kadarius Toney level amount.
Okay.
Granted, I watched the replay, and the interception where he dropped it and it came directly out of his chest, the ball was slightly tipped in such a way that he did have to make a quick adjustment. However, that is not the first time. That's not the first time we've had to watch Garrett Wilson make a in-air adjustment, and he's done it for a touchdown, where it bounced off someone and he still reached out and grabbed it while he was in the air. This was tipped by, like a fingernail.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the second time in a post-game interview where he said, I need to be better. I was the reason why we lost this game. We played 7 games so far, and Garrett Wilson, 2 out of 7, which is damn near 30% of the games, has said, I need to play better. I was the reason we lost this game. That is horrible for your wide receiver 1. Sorry, he was your wide receiver 1 going into this. And some people still believe he is wide receiver 1, and maybe he is over Devontae. I don't really give a fuck. That team is in trouble no matter what. No matter what. I just don't think there's life.
I don't think there's life. And if you're a Jets fan, I'm gonna be honest. I've seen some Jets fans on Twitter getting a little annoyed at the Aaron Rodgers arrogance that he's presented himself to have. And it's not like he's played well. It's not like in that manner he's, laser dotting. He's just,
That's the thing, though. I'm like, dude, I don't feel bad for fucking Jets fans. I'm sorry. I maybe feel bad because they've been asked.
I kind of feel bad for Jets fans because of and they
wanted Aaron Rodgers.
They went into last year like, hey, this is
this motherfucker.
And they went into last season like, hey, this is the year. Okay, Aaron Rodgers gets injured. It's like his first time really missing significant time like that. He's done it before, but it's like at this age, it's hard to come back from. And it's just, it hasn't been there. And I'll be honest, you guys heard me all throughout the beginning of the year. I said, Robert Saleh will not be a head coach by the end of this year. And we saw that he's not a head coach, but it's not like things have changed over the last 2 weeks since he's been fired. And I'm starting to wonder, is it just the top to bottom, like completely destroy this team and bring it back? I don't know what they have to do, but you're looking at someone like Quinnen Williams, right? Quinnen Williams is brought in with a top, basically their first round pick, expected to be this massive force up front. And he sucked. He has not been good at all for the Jets. That pass rush, they have no pass rush. Russell Wilson could sit back there for quite some time last week in that game and make the throws. Now, granted, he's a good throw he can throw well on the run. So he was able to do that, but you just got to be better, man. I mean, you really just have to be better about getting these guys tackled. I established yourself as a force. I mean, Quinnen Williams, man, I don't believe he has a sack all year, and he's expecting a massive contract extension, and you're just not going to get it, man. He's got 2 sacks this year, and in his career since 2019, he's only amassed 35 sacks. So not great, really not great. If you're on the Steelers side, I'm just being honest, man. Watching Russell Wilson have a game like Russell Wilson had was really nice. And if you're looking at box score, you're going to say, oh, well, he had, let me go ahead and pull that up because it doesn't look pretty. Russell Wilson had, yeah, go ahead.
Has the 31st worst offensive line in the league, right? Just based off our rankings. Was this PFF?
Who? Seattle?
Yeah. Did you say that earlier, or did I hear something?
No. I mean, it was ranked 31, I think, going into the Falcons game. So they had an insane game. They only allowed like 2 sacks, I want to say. So I think that went up, but they pretty much have been bottom 5 in everything. The Jets offensive line, whatever you're going to say, is just awful. Like it is truly atrocious. But Aaron Rodgers, it hasn't. I think because of his lack of mobility and something we're not used to seeing, has really been a big key factor in the failures of this team. But it has been consistent. And something that was really telling to me, Pittsburgh comes into this game, right? Russell Wilson has not started a game in quite some time. You're coming off that kind of a tumultuous ending with Seattle, culminating into a really brutal time with Denver Broncos, and just, hey man, is this guy ever going to start? Like, is he ass? And he starts the game off. Like, I'm going to read the box score: 16 for 29, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. You see that and you go, okay, not a bad game. And inherently it was not a bad game. The first half wasn't good. Like, Russell Wilson did not look comfortable. He was making throws that he looked rusty. He was just missing things. He was missing wide open receivers, throwing little checkdowns. Second half breaks out, and you start to see that moon ball come out a little bit. And I'm going to be 100% transparent. If George Pickens is not on that team, Russell Wilson might have 2 interceptions. That being said, George Pickens made all the right plays. He did exactly what he's supposed to do as wide receiver number 1. And that team put up the most points they've put up in a very long time. Now they're going to go into the bye week in a couple of weeks and decide, hey, who's going to be our starter? Because once we determine that, that's it. But that is the first time they've put up more than 35 points in, let's see, as an offense, they have not put up more than 35 points in over 2 seasons.
That is nuts.
Yeah. And it actually probably might be further. I'm continuing this list. They haven't. The last time they put up 35 points or more was November 21st, 2021.
God damn, that's horrible.
So Russell Wilson did what he needed to do. Najee Harris ran through that defensive line too. That's
what I wanted to say. I will say this. I have not been the highest on Russell Wilson, and I'm never going to say that I'm going to be fucking high on Justin Fields. I'm sorry. No matter what he says, no matter what he does, no matter who he is as a human being, I will never be high on him. And not to say that he is a bad human being, but I just don't think he's a good quarterback.
Yeah,
he's a great football player, super athletic, not a good quarterback. So I'll never be high on him. However, I've been high on Russell Wilson. And one of the things that we noticed, and mind you, I'm going to read out some stats. Versus the Falcons, Najee Harris had 70 yards. Broncos, 69. Chargers, 70. Colts, 19. Cowboys, 42. And then last week, Raiders, 106. And I'm going to put an asterisk near that because the Raiders are just horrible.
The Raiders, dude.
That defensive line sucks. However, against the Jets, who does not have a horrible defense, they've struggled a lot against the run this year. However, 21 attempts, 102 yards, 4.9 average, and 1 touchdown. One of the things that, we saw with Justin Fields was he opened up a lot of the, I feel like, running lanes because he can take off whenever. However, Russell Wilson, it seems like, is opening up the rushing lanes because, like we said, he can push the ball a little bit more. Pickens can get involved a little bit more. And so they have to respect the pass rather than respecting the run. Najee Harris starts to fucking heat up a little bit, and the result is a 35-point game. First time in 3 years. Look, dude, I don't think the Steelers are great, but facts are facts, and we saw this.
They've continued to win.
Opened up offense.
They've continued to win.
Opened up. Yep. They're
And
5
if you're
2.
look,
They're like
if-
my
if you-
fantasy team.
yeah, we're gonna talk about this. I mean, we're gonna go over who the Steelers play next. But I mean, if you are Steelers fans, you have to be happy because no matter who you put out there, you now know that you have two guys that can actually win you
Win
football
it.
games. What I think is the main difference is that Justin Fields is more dynamic of a passer because of his ability to use his legs. He's very much like a Jalen Milroe if you're a college person, in the fact that he can just scramble and throw on the run well. What Russell Wilson does is Russell Wilson has the pocket presence, and that's what you're seeing with Geno Smith. Russell Wilson can see where that pocket's about to collapse and maneuver through it and still make that throw. And he's got the deep ball that, fuck, man, he's got a deep ball that
It's also more accurate.
yeah,
like,
he's
genuinely,
he's
more
done it for
accurate
years.
than
He's done it for years.
And
He's got that
again,
experience.
if you look at the fucking box stats, you would say, is he
wasn't
really
the best game.
Yeah,
but
he had a 55% completion percentage, but you look at it, it's like that first half was brutal. Second half, great. If you were just to take the second half, he would have looked a lot better. But that box score, I just don't feel like was very telling, or the stats were not very telling. He had a very good game. I think
they had a good game.
Let me look this up real quick before we move on. But let's see. His rating was a 109. He had a 55.2 completion percentage, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Typically, when you have a 55.2% completion percentage, your rating's not a 109. So
exactly,
he was doing something right.
He played it the right way.
Looks fucking dangerous, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but I think we can talk about this later. But let's move into
good.
Some of the news that we got.
It's hot. It's fresh, baby. Look, speaking of hot, man.
Spicy.
Speaking of hot, the king of consent, Deshaun Watson, suffered a torn Achilles in a game against the Bengals, and he is out for the year, baby. It's over. Mr. Massage himself. It's wraps. It's
you just know he's gonna love this rehab process.
He's sitting there like, oh no, I have to get massages by hot women. Oh no, and it's mandatory.
Well, actually, Mrs.
Yeah,
my Achilles is located on my cock.
Yeah. Well, listen, Deshaun Watson. I really think us talking about this, like, this is the last time we're ever going to talk about Deshaun Watson as a starter.
Yeah.
And I say that because it's not that Deshaun Watson isn't capable of being a good quarterback. He just isn't a good quarterback. Like, we've seen it, but not anymore. And look, 2022, the Cleveland Browns traded 3 firsts, 2 fourth-round picks, and a third-round pick to acquire a QB that they felt could give them the best shot to compete for a title. They also, right after, extended him to a $230 million 5-year deal. Now, it's not like they did this without knowing the allegations that Deshaun Watson had. He had left the Texans with those allegations of sexual assault, and the Browns still took a shot on him knowing he was probably going to get suspended, but they figured, hey, after this, clean up your act and we'll bring you back. Well, he's suspended for 11 games to start the season, and since then, he has been statistically one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And it is his second straight season-ending injury. And I really, truly think with how bad he was going into this year, he has the most sacks of any quarterback by 10 or more. He has 8 interceptions, and he's got bottom 5 in completion percentage, passer rating, yards per attempt, yards per game, all of that metric. He's bottom list. Going into the game, he comes out of that tunnel, and they're booing him.
He gets booed immediately.
He got booed immediately, and then Nick Chubb comes out right after, and everyone gives him a standing ovation, which was telling.
That was fucking nuts.
And then Deshaun Watson tears his Achilles, and much like Kevin Durant in the 2019 NBA Finals, he got booed. People were cheering for his injury, and unlike those finals, whereas the Toronto Raptors fans cheering, it was the Cleveland Browns fans that were cheering that Deshaun Watson was injured, because they have said this since the start of the season. They don't want him starting. And you have Jameis Winston, who can come in and be decent, can't be worse than Deshaun Watson. And now we're going to find out what that's going to be. But I'm really sitting here like, the Browns just have to eat it, man. You just can't bring him out after all the allegations. So I'm going to call it right now. That's a wraps on his career as a starter. He'll probably be a career backup. He'll never be a starter again. He's too controversial. I think that's karma, man. I think that's just karma.
No, I couldn't agree anymore, honestly. And realistically, he went into a season where the Browns last year had, I believe, the second best total defense. And I'm not going to blame their defense completely on this. Their offense was not great last year, and they did have Nick Chubb up to a point, and then afterwards they kind of fell off. But
very
like
telling.
said,
real quick, very telling about that, though, talking about that offense. Look at what they were before and after Joe Flacco.
Yes.
Or like before and during Joe Flacco. Took him to the divisional round.
And like you said, I mean, he runs out the tunnel. They boo him. Nick Chubb, who has been injured since last year, comes out and gets a standing ovation.
Which respectfully deserves it.
Respectfully, everyone in the fucking NFL and fans of the NFL loves Nick Chubb. Like, there's no haters of Nick Chubb.
Legend of the game.
Unless you're in the AFC North and you just can't stand him because he runs all over your team. But, I mean, he goes into a game where Nick Chubb comes back, and Nick Chubb does not have a good game. Let's just say that. I mean, he didn't have a great game.
Yeah.
Not to say he
missed
looks
a year
rusty,
of football.
but, he's coming back. Deshaun Watson, before he fucking came out of that game, I just want to pull up these stats.
Do it. Jamie.
And this was the thing that was kind of surprising. He was onto one of his best fucking games. He had an 88.2% completion percentage, 128 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. But as a total this year, he has a 63.4 completion percentage, 1,148 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and has a rating of 79. So you go into a game where your best running back comes back. You guys don't score anything. You're having one of those games, and you get injured. And I'm not saying that this is kind of telling and, not karma, because I don't really believe in karma for players like this.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
You got to believe it's something at this point. You're getting booed off the field when you get injured. You're getting booed when you come out. You had allegations through the roof. And now you injure yourself in a game where you were playing well and one of the goated Browns of our generation comes back. You got to feel bad for the dude, but at the same time, it's like, to what point do you feel bad? Because, and we'll get into this with the Brandon Aiyuk position, when you cause this much drama and you have a full franchise that's absolutely hating you, like, why would you feel bad for this guy?
Yeah.
Why would you? And one of the main reasons that I'm kind of getting into this, because as a Browns fan and just as a Browns teammate, I think there were some reactions that I'm like, I don't know if I agree with you. So Deshaun Watson, who is the Browns' best player, he said, whether it's an opponent that goes down or one of our own players, we don't boo. Garrett said in a post-game news conference. We don't boo guys that are injured on the field, especially when the cart comes out. We should be ashamed of ourselves as Browns and as fans to boo anyone and their downfall. Again, that was one of the guys that spoke out. Jameis Winston also spoke out, and I should have had this pulled up, but I'm sorry I don't.
It's all good.
I'm not going to read all this. Come on. Just give me the summary of it. Okay, he said, the way I was raised, I was taught to love no matter the circumstances, especially with the people who deserve right by you. I'm grateful to have the chance to serve Deshaun, but I'm very upset with the reaction to a man that has had the world against him for the past 4 years, and he put his body and life on the line for the city every single day.
Yeah,
the reason why I brought this up from the beginning, Nick Chubb comes out, they give him a bunch of fucking claps, right? They're happy he's back. Deshaun comes out after not playing a great game, not a good season, starts to have one of his better games. Again, mind you, gets injured and then gets booed off the fucking field. And then you have reactions like Myles Garrett, who says, hey, we shouldn't do this. We should be ashamed. Jameis Winston saying he's putting his life out on the line. And I'm just going to say this. And I don't mind Deshaun. I think what Deshaun did was pretty shitty. And like I said, I don't necessarily believe in karma, and it's just a bad situation in general. But sometimes you get what you deserve. And realistically, sometimes in a situation like that, I think it's better to keep your mouth shut. He's playing fucking football. He's not putting his life on the line. I'm sorry. Jameis Winston, that is cap. And Myles Garrett, you know better. You've played at an elite level from high school to college to fucking pros. When someone does something like that with bad allegations, the fans start to not like him. And then when he doesn't back it up with his play, and he's clearly the worst quarterback in the league. Mind you, he had a decent game going into it. The Browns offense was still struggling. They didn't score shit, but he was having one of his better fucking games, completion percentage wise, right? But when you go into a game like that and you're getting booed and you don't fucking play well, you're going to get booed. You're going to get booed. And it's like, if anything, Myles Garrett, I realistically don't think should have said anything. Just like the other players, I get it. You're one of the star players, but he's not putting his life out on the line. He's playing like dog shit, and he's not a great fucking human being. He's just not a guy that you want around a shitty organization.
Yeah. He's a cancer. He's a cancer.
Realistically, I think it fucking sucks for Deshaun, and I'm not wishing on anyone's downfall, but sometimes you get what you deserve. Sometimes, man. You know?
I get it.
And it happens. It happens.
That's football, man. That's
and
hey, look, the average lifespan of an NFL star or an NFL player, 3 years in the NFL.
Yep.
So you got to think it comes at you quick. Life does. Look, speaking about it,
it's kind of 50-50 too.
Speaking about it,
person deserved it or not.
Yeah, look, the 49ers have to have had the most dysfunctional and regrettable offseason in a very, very long time. Now, I'm going to just preface this. It was not the Niners' fault that Brandon Aiyuk got injured, okay? It was not the Niners' fault that Christian McCaffrey or Brock Purdy or Trent Williams or any other player, Debo, have been either inconsistent or just downright not healthy. However,
yeah,
I think a lot can be said about how the Niners ran this offseason. And I'm going to just be 100% honest. Brandon Aiyuk against that Chiefs team, he caught a ball, put him 10 yards to their end zone. So pretty much right in the red zone, he caught that ball and he gets tackled in the lower leg and he had to be carted off. I wasn't sure at the time. I thought maybe it was like a hyperextension. They came out today, or I guess yesterday, and said that he tore his ACL and MCL and is expected to miss the entire rest of the season. And there's a chance, not saying it's likely, but there is a chance he could miss part of next season.
Needs further testing to tell that.
Yeah.
Right.
So we don't know the severity. And look, and I only say that because, again, the Niners couldn't control what happens. Like, it's not their fault that Brandon Aiyuk gets injured. But at the same time, I truly wonder if they regret not trading Brandon Aiyuk. Because you just gave a guy, $120 million for 4 years in your basically last year of really competing, and he's now not going to play for you for the rest of the year. I'm sure that they feel like shit for that injury, but it also has got to suck because you had that trade on the table and you lost it. And now you're really screwed. I mean, you're like in a worse position than you've ever been before. So that's where my head's at, you know?
Yeah, Zach? I'm going to go into it a little bit. As a 49ers fan, this one was brutal, and there were a lot of ups and downs.
I'm sorry, man.
Just like this
sorry.
offseason. Just like this offseason with Brandon specifically. There were a lot of up and downs with it because last year he was our second best offensive player.
Second best receiver in the league last year.
This year going into it, he has more drops than he has touchdowns, which, mind you, into
one drop.
Week 7.
He doesn't have any touchdowns.
That's what I'm saying. Going into week 7, that could be something that could happen, but it almost feels like he's averaging more drops than 10-yard completions. So at this point, it's like he's not performing. And I'm going to say this. When he went down, I was screaming at the TV, get the fuck up. We paid you fucking $30 million. It's a stinger. Realistically, I thought it was. And then they showed that back angle where his knee buckled, and I said, that's GG's. He's gone.
I thought it was hyperextension. I was like, I can't really see it from that angle. Now I realize.
Look, like I said earlier, I'm not like a guy that completely believes in karma, but I do feel like sometimes bad things happen to people that have made people's lives hell. I'll just say that. And sometimes people deserve it, and sometimes people don't deserve it. I'm not going to say Brandon Aiyuk deserves it, but the way that he treated the 49ers and our fans, and realistically just this whole offseason with being the dramatic baby that he was, sometimes it catches up to you. And so that's one part. That's like the devil on my shoulder. Like, hey, feel bad for him is fucking literally out the door. Like, don't feel bad for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has treated us like shit. He hasn't played well.
He made it all about him. He's played awful.
Made it all about himself, has had multiple drops, has not played well. 49ers have been very dysfunctional. And then I let it kind of set in for a little bit after the loss because I was pretty angry too. And I still felt this, the angel on my other shoulder saying, he's still a 49er. He's a brother. People still care about him. I still care about him. And the main thing going into it was my hope was he wasn't going to be out for the season. Now that he's out for the season, dude, it's heartbreaking. It's like, as a 49ers fan, I don't think I could say the last time where I remember going into the season, hey, we get so-and-so back was not said. Because in the last fucking 4 to 5 years, someone always tears something. We say, hey, week 7, after the bye week, Drake Greenlaw's coming back. Week 5, after the bye week, CMC's coming back. Stuff like that. It's happened year after year after year after year after year. And for it to be Brandon Aiyuk, who has had an offseason where, it's very dramatic, it's a bit telling, but it's sad, dude, as a 49ers fan. And
It's tough.
Realistically, and I know that you don't want to hear this, and a lot of fans aren't going to want to hear this, but this is why they do hold out.
Yeah.
This exactly right here is why they hold out. Brandon Aiyuk is going to get $76 million guaranteed.
No matter what.
I don't know how that is broken down to the first 2 years of the contract, but I mean, like we just saw, he played 7 games and will not play for the next full season. He will not play at least until probably week 7 of 2025. Yeah. Yep. It typically takes a year for both this and how bad it is. So that's why they do it, though. And as a guy and as, a future family man, I don't blame him for doing it. And I'm not going to say that he deserved any of that shit, but it's just shitty that he played really bad and it happened like this. That's all I'm going to say.
It's tough.
That's all I'm going to say.
Well, he ends his season through 6 weeks with 374 yards on 25 receptions in 6 games. That ranks him at 41st in receptions, 25th in yards, and he had no touchdowns. So, I mean, it's not like you're losing a guy, and this sucks to say. We know what Brandon Aiyuk can be, but it's not like for the Niners that they're losing a guy who was the focal point of their offense, because so far he hasn't really been that. And we saw in that game against the Chiefs, he had a couple plays that either the ball was thrown poorly or he was wide open and just dropped the ball. Just blatantly dropped it. And I'm like, that's the type of stuff where you can't miss an offseason. Like, if you're holding out, you're kind of in a shitty situation, because if you're holding out for that long, you can't just go out on the field and play because, well, the team's just not going to respect you, because it's like, hey, it's not that important. You still want to play. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a double whammy, and I totally understand what you're talking about. But one thing's for sure, man, it's not the Niners' fault. By any means. Obviously, they don't control who gets injured and who doesn't, but I think, you're kind of going into the season expecting this team to maybe put up one more chance. I think it's gone, man. I think that window's closed, just because we don't know when we're going to get back Christian McCaffrey. Like, I know he might come back after the bye week. We don't know what version of Christian McCaffrey we're going to get, because his whole career has been kind of one big injury, minus last season. And it's tough, man. It's a really brutal feeling for your guys's, because it's like all these expectations and it's just been week after week. And so, even as a hater, it feels like shit.
The worst start to a season I've ever watched for the 49ers.
Yeah. And believe me,
as Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
10 season-ending fucking injuries, or at least half of the season-ending injuries.
Yeah. So
Kyle Shanahan. Dude, I could talk about this for a while, and there's a couple things that I could get into for a really long time. One would be Brock, 2 would be Kyle Shanahan, but I want to just touch on this, and then I'll continue.
Deshaun Watson special.
I know the team, right? Okay. Sorry. I know the team right now is, going through a Super Bowl hangover, injuries. We don't have an identity. We lack a lot of things, right? But the main thing that I'm worried about is Kyle Shanahan as a play caller. He looks like he's lost something. I don't know. And Brock,
I don't want to sit here.
Dude, I love Brock, but again, like I said, I fucking love this dude, and it's hard not to fucking argue for him. And when
it was a bad week from Brock.
When these conversations get brought up, I always bring up, a multitude of things. But I will say this, and I fucking hate Nick Wright, but he makes some good points with Brock. There have been multiple games now where it's mattered that he has not played well. We have a big selection of games. It's not just a fluke game against the Ravens. It is a selection of games.
Now it's starting. Now they're piling up.
And it's not like, hey, he played one bad game. We have a group of games now where we can say Brock has not
especially
played
this season.
Mattered. Not to say, hey, Super Bowl he didn't play bad.
No. But most of this season,
dude.
And I'm going to be honest,
games this fucking season that he's not played well. The Ravens last year, it's not like he played great in the playoffs.
Which is okay.
There's some guys, concerned about it, but
of course,
put on the tape against some good fucking teams, and he has struggled. And
I'll say this before, and we'll move on to the next topic.
Sign him, and like you said, I mean, we're in cap space hell, and the Super Bowl now
grass isn't always green.
Now, quest for 6 now is GG's. I don't think it's this year.
Yeah, it's tough,
next
man.
Year to me would be very, very hard, especially with having to sign everyone that we have to sign. So I agree with you. I think it's probably over. And I'll try to stay optimistic, but there's a couple of things that I think are more worrisome than others. I'll say.
Yeah. How about a high five for us having 2 mid teams? I mean, I know like it's not the happiest thing, but at least we both can shit on our team week to week now. We're gonna talk about this. This is actually something that I didn't even know. Zach had thrown this on here, so I might just let him lead this, but I'm just gonna let people know. Chris Godwin is expected to miss the remainder of the season with a gruesome ankle injury. Prayers out to him, man. He was having a great, honestly, such a good year. And it wraps up after 6 weeks.
So going kind of into that, and mind you, this offseason has been crazy with fucking rule changes. But the number one thing, or maybe one of the top things that they changed, because probably the number one thing would be the kickoff rule. Second, if it wasn't pertaining to special teams, would be the hip drop tackle rule. And that is basically when you grab the defender by the hip and you pull him down. Last week, we saw kind of something that was similar to that with Roquan Smith's tackle against Chris Godwin. I'm not going to play the video because it's kind of, you know what? I'll see if I can play it. It's kind of hard to see.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up here.
It's kind of hard to see because you have to like watch it in slow-mo, and they didn't really show the greatest angle, but we could pull it up. It's not the craziest looking on video, but when you see it get tangled up, his ankle is just floating. Completely dislocated it, broke it. He is going to have season-ending surgery on his quote-unquote dislocated ankle. I would be shocked if he didn't tear some more things and or break it, but I think, further testing will show us what exactly happened.
Yeah, I'll show the video right now.
It said that he'll see a doctor today to determine the damage and is expected to make a full recovery for 2025 when he'll be a free agent. So Keaton can show the video. Again, it's kind of hard to see, but we can kind of go into it and try to analyze it if possible. So like I said, the hip drop tackle rule is when you pull the guy down. So from the back is typically when this happens. Roquan Smith right here kind of engages it, not from it. He kind of engages it from the side, but then rolls down, right? And brings
so that ankle is right here.
And so that ankle, boom.
And watch it. And so he's going to crawl for a second and just watch how that thing moves. I mean, it's backwards.
Like, look at his other ankle.
It's upside down.
His other ankle. Yeah. So,
I mean, he's just...
that is honestly a pretty decent angle, and it's kind of hard to see at like full speed. So I'm glad that we
wasn't a good video. Wasn't a good video on it.
Not to say it's like gruesome, like a Nick Chubb injury. I just think one of
it
those fucking ankle injuries sucks, and it's just floating. His ankle's just floating, and realistically, he was having a fucking crazy good year. And Godwin's been that guy for a bit now. He's been underrated for some strange reason. Bucks wide receivers in our generation have gone very, very underrated. But this year specifically, Godwin, dude, Mike Evans might be the most underrated player of our generation.
Okay, watch this ankle right here. It's going to blur it out.
Better angle.
But you can see his leg is now trapped under, and you can see now where that foot is.
Yep.
And so it's not the best video because I don't think, whatever. But that's a pretty good angle.
That I saw earlier on TikTok, but the one that I had in the doc didn't show that. So yeah, that angle is, oh God, it's just, I don't know. Maybe I see it
shitty, man.
I don't like that shit. But again, Godwin was having a career with fucking 576 receiving yards, which was second NFL. He had 50 receptions and 5 touchdowns going into week 7. You do, the math. That is an all-pro type of year. So
he was having a banger year, man. Sucks.
Man, I feel bad for him. And Mike Evans is now injured too with the hamstring. That team is in trouble. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Things change quick.
Yep.
Well, look, that's pretty much our main news. I'm going to just hint on this one topic. We don't have to go too deep into detail because we don't have a ton of information. But look, the 2022 Super Bowl has finally caught up to the Rams after all this time. I mean, we really were expecting like, hey, next year, 2023, all those picks they gave up, they're going to suck. They didn't. They were actually pretty good. But look, man, we're heading into a 2025 now, and it seems like it's pretty much over, man. The Rams, they're a really bad football team, and they are now shopping for trades on Cooper Kupp. Something we didn't think we'd see because, truth be told, in my opinion, I thought Cooper Kupp was the franchise guy. It doesn't seem like that anymore. I think they've officially realized, let's move on, let's rebuild, let's retool, let's get some picks. And they have now called several NFL teams, notably the Chiefs, seem like they are the closest on getting a deal done, as they have lost Rashee Rice. And honestly, Patrick Mahomes needs something else. Xavier Worthy hasn't necessarily been all that in a bag of chips. Can't rely on Juju Smith-Schuster week in, week out. Travis Kelce has looked like he hasn't been the guy. And if you can get a healthy Cooper Kupp for a team that right now is 6-0, although they shouldn't be, I just don't know where you go from there, man.
He's gonna have a fucking 100 receptions in 13 weeks, man.
Yep. So it's gonna be Tyreek Hill all over again. So that seems like where he might be headed. And obviously going into next year, or I guess next week, and hopefully next week, we're gonna have a full trade update for you with where he went. But it seems like right now it's just kind of in that early stages, right?
Dude, that man's gonna have 100 receptions in fucking 10 weeks, dude. He gets right now, he's gonna go crazy. He's gonna be like fucking Travis Kelce, but in wide receiver form. That's the one team I don't want him to go to, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of the favorite, and it would
be exactly like fucking Travis Kelce, just wide receiver form. He's just gonna find the zone. Patrick Mahomes is gonna run around. He's gonna have 100 fucking receptions in one game. And just go crazy every week, bro. That's the one team.
And I'll tell you what. Here's what they're expecting.
Fucking team.
All they want is to take on part of his salary. You don't even have to take on the whole salary, and you have to give a second-round pick. So they are asking for the Devontae Adams trade. And boy, oh boy, for Cooper Kupp, why not take it if you're the Chiefs? You have it. You have it. Just give it to him. That's pretty much it.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm gonna be so
that's pretty much it. We'll say this real quick. Alvin Kamara is staying in New Orleans. Agrees to a 2-year, $24.5 million extension. He's having a hell of a fucking season. This puts him under contract through the 2026 season. NFL Network insider Mike Garafolo reported this on Tuesday. He says that the deal includes over $22 million guaranteed, and the $1.5 million in incentives makes it worth up to $26 million. The Saints will save roughly $28 million on the 2025 salary cap with Alvin's new deal in place. And I mean, win for the Saints. Like, it's no downsides to that. You secure a guy who he's been balling. So not too much to report because it's not like he's changing teams. He's just having a really good year and he's getting rewarded for it. So good for Alvin Kamara. Look, that's our news for the week. Let's transition a little bit over to the non-real stuff. And by non-real, I'm talking about fantasy. Zach, your team's good. Hey, I'll say this. Unlike the Niners and whatever you want to say, both of our fantasy teams. Well, I'm trying to transition it to a good note.
Yes.
Both of our teams at least got a win this week. I played Diego, who is a multiple time champion in our league. And he has the worst team I have ever seen on paper. And I'm sorry to say it. I walked in, I could have benched 3 players. I could have benched my quarterback, my running back, and a kicker, and I still would have won. But Zach, you had a week. So what is?
Yeah, that's a way to describe
and let's talk
it.
Ants. Let's talk Anthony's first, since he's not here. It sounds like you have his information. Is that correct?
No. He sent me the worst fantasy team for this year. So
okay.
This week. If you guys don't know, Anthony's been doing this trend where he finds the worst fantasy team of the week. This is week 7's worst fantasy team. CJ Stroud, mind you, this is a total of 16.9. So 16.9 total points. CJ Stroud would have been your starting quarterback at 5.3 points. Austin Eckler with 4. Ramondre Stevenson with 4.5. Dude. Cortland Sutton with a donut of 0. Tank Dell with a donut of 0. Sam Laporta with 3.5 points, who I have in one of my fantasy leagues. Fuck you, Sam. Jamal Williams, 0.6, who just actually got suspended. We didn't talk about that, but he did get suspended for performance-enhancing drugs, I believe it was.
Brutal.
Koo, the kicker, had 1, and then the Jets had -2 points for a total points of 16.9.
That's a good roster,
brutal.
too. That's a real roster.
Yeah, I know. That's like a real roster that could be in one of our leagues. And then we're not going to talk about Ant's team just because I don't actually have it pulled up. But I will say this. Hey, man, last 3 weeks, Anthony's been struggling, and he went into it saying that he was a real contender to win this league. And now look at him. I'll say this. I'll say this. Ant, your team's not looking too good, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not trying to shit on him, but I will say he is on a 3-loss streak right now. He is 3-4, and now is in 5th place in the poo-poo side of our fantasy league. So there's poo-poo and pee-pee, and he is 5th in poo-poo. So not ideal for him. We'll see if he can bounce back. He does have a good team. I think he's getting a little bit, unfortunate with things. And then, going into my team, I have a team. That's for damn sure. Not good, not bad.
You have a football. Hey, it's one of the fantasy teams of all time.
97 to 96 point something. Mind you, going into this game, Alex did not have a kicker. For some reason, he didn't notice that his Dallas kicker was on bye and didn't pick up anyone. So I looked at the game about 4 hours earlier, and I said, wait a second. His kicker slot is empty. And he had put the kicker on the bench, which means he was going to pick up the kicker. So at that point in time, I said, if I need to win this game, which I do because I'm 4-2 at that time, and my team's not very good, I need to pick up the kicker. So I picked up the kicker and dropped a Cowboys wide receiver that I had on the bench, Tolver that was, Jalen, and he ended up losing by 0.7. The kicker would have had him winning by 6 points. I won 97. I'm going to actually pull it up.
I got it right now. 97. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
To 96.96. So I had a lead of 18 going into that game, 18 points, whatever the math is. I'm not even going to try to do it. And he had James Conner, who had 17.2 points. And I was shitting myself because on that last drive, he was going fucking nuts. So, I won by less than a point. Like I said, did not score more than 100 points. So, like Keaton said, I have one of the fantasy teams ever. My biggest disappointment, again, was Christian Kirk in 3.4 points. My most mediocre player was Jordan Mason in 8.9. Kind of saw that one coming, but I didn't have anyone to play against that Chiefs defense that plays really well against running back ones. And then again, for the second week in a row, my best player was my kicker, Austin Siebert, with 17 points.
God,
so that's
big win.
Not good.
Big win for the kid.
Yep. 5-2 though. 4th in the league.
Hey, it's
not confident.
You know what?
I will be a first round.
Okay. It's okay. Hey, a win's a win. You take it when you can get it, right?
Yep.
Unless you're the Raiders, because then you can't win.
All right. All right.
I played Diego, who right now, honestly, I don't know if we've ever had this before, but he is 0 for 7. He is on track to skunk for the full season. He put up 93 points, and I just want to read off his team. CJ Stroud. Say what you will, but CJ Stroud has been kind of bad in fantasy all year.
Yes, he has.
Justice Hill, Braylon Allen, who put up 1 point. Drake London, who's been good. Christian Watson, Mark Andrews, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Bass, and the Ravens defense. I had a really good week, actually, and I'm going to just break this down. My best overall player, I'm going to just be honest, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been just Mr. Consistent all the way through. I had three players all put up 20 or higher points. Kyron Williams almost had 20. Can't believe I almost traded him. David Njoku had a game, man. David Njoku put up 23 points for me this week, too. So I actually had 4 players over 20 points. Probably my most mediocre, and I'm going to be 100% transparent, man. Brandon Aiyuk obviously went out, but he has literally been like my worst performer, and I just keep putting him into the roster. I expect him to perform. I've now just dropped him.
Yep.
Biggest disappointment, Jets defense. I put up 144 points, and the Jets defense had -3 points for me. So I'm thankful that the rest of my team decided to have a great week. The Jets did not, and I don't want that to continue. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Good
That's
week of fantasy. I now sit 4-3. I don't know. I got to deal with this DK Metcalf injury too. So we got some funk going on.
Yes, we do.
That's wraps. That's wraps for week 6. We're gonna finish off with our week 7 predictions.
Week 7, you want to pull it up so we can both see?
I'm pulling that up right now, baby.
Cool.
I'm pulling that up right.
Cool.
Right
Pretty sure
now.
last week I did horrible with predictions. By the way, like really.
Yeah,
really bad.
yeah. Well, you did pick the
pretty
Browns.
sure we all did.
Or no,
Yeah.
I picked the Browns. So whatever.
Yes, you did.
We all sucked. Okay, starting out, we have our Thursday night game, i.e. tonight, if you're watching the episode day 1, Vikings at Rams. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say the Rams might lose by 6,500 points.
Yeah. Vikings are
coming off a loss.
I remember last year we said this too, but the primetime games, God,
Not been good.
why have they been so bad?
Not been good.
Like, do they just pick fucking teams that are just like, maybe they'll be okay, and then they just turn out bad? Is it just bad luck? Like,
I mean,
dude, some
we
of
did not
these games are
expect
horrible.
we didn't expect the Rams to be as bad as they were, and we didn't expect to be the Vikings as good as they were.
Yeah, true.
So going in, if we had like looked at this, we're like, hey, that's
man.
not a bad matchup. That's
NFL
a
is
3-3 matchup. NFL is unpredictable. That's why it's the NFL. I think we're both in accordance.
Vikings.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
Both in agreement there. Moving over, first Sunday morning game, you have the Packers at the Jaguars. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say, actually, and I said that Deshaun Watson leads the league in interceptions. It's actually Jordan Love right now with 8 interceptions. I'm going to take the Jaguars. I feel like they're rolling a little bit hot. I saw consistency out of Trevor Lawrence for the first time. Give me the Jaguars, man. Give me the Jaguars.
Yeah,
Why not?
no way. Give me the Packers.
We have some really shitty games. This is one of them. The Cardinals at the Dolphins.
Really bad game.
Hey, this is one of the games of all time.
Hey, I will say though, Tua's supposed to play. Give me the Dolphins. Tua's back. He's gonna throw for 300 against that shitty ass defense. Give me the Dolphins.
Why not? Dolphins. I'll take the Dolphins.
Okay,
Jets at Patriots. Sorry, go ahead.
This is at Patriots.
At Patriots, top to bottom.
Oops, sorry. Okay, don't the Patriots have the Jets number?
I don't know about that stat, but I'm just going to be honest.
I think so.
I think Drake May's progression. It would be so funny.
I'm going to go with the Patriots too.
I will go with the Patriots just because I think it would make sense. Drake May, I think, is a good quarterback, and I don't know, man. I don't know. It'd be kind of funny. I think the Jets are a better team. I think they're more dysfunctional though. So
yeah, dude,
you lose that game.
2016, the Jets have
you gotta go to Stats Muse.
I've won twice.
Wow.
Since 2016.
All right,
well, 1, 2, 3.
Let's take the betting favorite. Well, that would be like 10. That would be like 12 games. That'd be 12. Like
they played like 18 times in the last whatever fucking amount of years that has been, and they've won.
Yeah, that would make sense. So. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's not good. I'm gonna go with the Patriots though. Fuck it.
Give me the Patriots. Hollywood's favorite. This is gonna be. I mean, we got blowout after blowout after blowout. Ravens at Browns. It's not even worth our time. Give me the Ravens. David Njoku. I like a big day out of you. Don't expect it. Eagles at Bengals. Holy God, dude. This is just going to be a predictable last week. I'm going to
go with the Bengals. They're going to do it.
Okay. Well, I mean, you have to. You have to. That's your Super Bowl team.
So many times, bro. They're just ass.
Dude,
and I'm just going to continue doing it.
Look, Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown from my understanding. He hasn't thrown an interception in 2 weeks. So give me the Eagles, man. They're hot. They came off a good win. Man. Cooper DeJean played really good. Expect them to play better. Colts at Texans. That's Riley Moss, dude. Riley Moss is our Jackie
Riley
Robinson.
Moss.
Yeah. Ravens at Browns. Or I'm sorry. Colts at Texans. Excuse me. Come on.
Dude, I want to take the Colts just because I want to be that guy. But Anthony Richardson sucks, dude. He played so bad last week. That was the thing I wanted to say at the beginning of the episode.
I'm a little worried.
Anthony Richardson played. He played. It was not Joe Flacco, and he played like dog shit. Give me the Texans.
Yeah.
Jesus, what is going on with this fucking week?
This is a really bad week. Give me the Texans. Just give me the Texans. Titans at Lions. Holy God, moly. This is a Lions game. It's not even worth my time to watch.
Yeah,
Falcons at Buccaneers. This will be a good game. This will be like a sneaky good game. And I think the Falcons losing to Seattle in the way that they did can't afford another one.
And the Bucks are injured.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Give me the Falcons. Saints at Chargers. Here we go, Zach.
I mean, it's just awful.
Two teams.
Give me the Chargers just because they're
all the hope. I'm going to take the Saints. I don't know what they're capable of doing. That Chargers team is just so dysfunctional.
Dude, they're just so bad.
It doesn't make sense what they put onto that field. And I don't know, man. The Saints are going to pack out SoFi. So we'll see. I've got the Saints winning. Bills at Seahawks. As long as Geno has his braids in, I'm going to go with the Seahawks, man. I'm just being honest. I liked what I saw last week. And
at Seahawks. Bills at Seahawks.
Bills at Seahawks. It's all about the Seahawks with you guys.
The Bills just have not been playing good either.
Seattle's defense is good, but it's Josh Allen. He's played good. Cool.
Give me Seattle.
Bears at Commanders. This will be a good game.
This is going
to be a good game. Let me just see if Jaden Daniels is playing in this game.
Yeah. That's a big one.
So they are hopeful on his play, but it's not a gimme that
is it his thumb on his throwing hand?
I think it's a rib injury, actually, by the way.
Oh, it's his rib?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Where did I read thumb?
He might have hurt his thumb, but I think according to Dan Quinn, let's see. Commanders will be ultra cautious with Jaden Daniels' rib injury. So
he's hopeful?
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. He's doubtful. I think that's kind of what we're looking at. He's doubtful. So I'm gonna take the Bears. I like Marcus Mariota. I always have, but that defense is.
I'll say this: if Jaden plays, I think they win. If he does not play, I'll take the Bears. But
it's gonna be a good game.
It seems like he's not going to, so I'm gonna take the Bears.
I don't want to say this because you know me and Caleb Williams, but Caleb might take the lid off that defense. We'll see.
Yep. And he's been
holy shit, dude! Make it 7-0. Make it 7-0. Give me the Chiefs, man. I mean, I know it's the Raiders.
Last year.
I know, but
holy
guacamole.
What happened?
I know. There's just no way. There's just no way. The Raiders are worse than they were last year. Yep. Panthers at Broncos. Come on. Broncos. Like, this is a cakewalk. Okay. 49ers at Cowboys. We got football this week. 49ers at Cowboys. Cowboys at 49ers on a Sunday night. I mean, if you're San Francisco, you have to win this game. This is a game you cannot lose, especially if Seattle goes back up 2 games in that division.
I will say, if Debo does not play,
which they said he might,
of us winning goes down a good amount because that man goes crazy against the Cowboys. Yeah. But I just think the Niners are going to come out and think, hey, man, we just lost pretty bad against the Chiefs. We go into a bye week where we can get healthy. This is a must win. Must win. It's almost like a Seattle game. It's almost exactly like the Seattle game.
You have to win this. You have to win this. I'm gonna take the Cowboys, but I'll be honest, I would not be shocked if this went towards the Niners. So that's that. Our last game, our Monday night, and we only have one Monday night game. The Giants at Steelers. Again, Steelers getting another primetime game. Primetime Russ. We know what he's capable of. Give me the Steelers. They just got, hey, what if that offense puts up 35 again? I don't know the stats from the last time they did that twice in a season, but that's
they could.
Look, that's
against the Giants.
That's our week. That's our week of football. We went a little bit long today, and that's okay. That's okay. That's what football's for.
We got a lot to talk about.
We talk. We yap. Professional yappers with no pay.
Yes, sir. In the end zone with the yappers.
In the end zone with the yappers. Follow us on our social medias if you've made it this far. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know Let us know who your favorite team is. Whether you think DK Metcalf is legit or not. I'd love to hear people's opinions. So thanks for tuning into this episode and have a great
See y'all
fucking
next
night.
week.
See ya.
I'd be exhausted, yeah. 3rd down and 9. Cousins looking, hit. Ball comes loose. Seahawks recover. And it's taken all the way back into the end zone by Hall. Mafe with the initial hit.